got to put in the pain either this year or next year, but it won't be both. Okay? Now, again, I was telling you that some of this stuff is just review with radians thrown in. And you may remember these steps to find angle measure. See, it even says review. I'm not making it up. Angle measure in degrees. So we've done this year, so we're going to redo it. And then I'll move into radians in the second half of the lesson. So this is still really good. You got that final exam thing coming, right? This will come in handy. Now, here were always our steps. Determine the quadrants the angle will be in by looking at the sign of the ratio. I bet you if you pulled out that study sheet, you would have these 3 steps. Then you'll take second sine, second cos, or second tan of the absolute value of the given quantity, because that gives you your angle, right? That'll give you your reference angle. See, determine the reference angle. Then determine the rotation angles using the reference angle of the quadrants. Okay? So let's do one. So let's complete the following and solve when cos theta equals negative 0.5. So we first look at the sign and we write our cast rule down. Where is cos negative? Quadrants 2 and 3. Okay? So you can like do this. I often do that, so I know I'm not going to be there. Or you could put check marks saying I'm going to be in those 2, but we're in 2 and 3. Now to find your reference, we're going to go second cos, and you're not going to put the negative in there. Now, look at this. It does not say make sure you're in degree mode. Do you know what says that though? There is something that actually tells you make sure you're in degree mode. Where there's no degree sign. See? No degree sign. The question. That's called the domain. So always keep an eye on the domain. If it says between 0 and 2 pi, you switch to radians in your calculator. Okay? So it will not say, make sure you're in degree mode, but it kind of does. Because it says, hey, this is what you're playing with. Between 0 and 360. Okay? So you get your calculator out. Get to degree mode. Then we get out of here. I'm going to clear that because a whole bunch of other stuff was there. In quadrants 2 and 3, well, actually that doesn't matter. I've already figured that out. So now I'm just going to go find the angle. Second cos. You always use second cos when finding an angle, right? Second sine, second tan. And I'm going to put 0.5. I'm not going to put negative 0.5. You never put the negative. And you get 60. Now that is your reference angle. Okay, so you get 60 degrees. And make sure you use cos. Or I'll just write second cos. 0.5. Right, so we're always going to be doing absolute value, and we got 60 degrees. So then we just draw our 60 to our x-axis because it is the reference angle, right? So in quadrant 2, the reference angle would be 180 minus 60, right? Or my rotation. Yeah, sorry. So it's 180 minus my reference, so I get 120 degrees. The first one is 120 degrees. The second one I will go 180 plus 60 degrees to 40 degrees. Okay, do you remember doing those? So I'm not going to change it. We're just going to do it with radians in a bit. Okay, so this is still excellent review. So if you're in grade 12 right now, I'd be doing grade 11 review, so we could go on to the next concept. You can use it to work on your studying for your final exam. Now it says this one's, right, given that sine squared, or sine theta squared. Now This is really important. I'm sure we've dealt with this, but when it's written like this, it means this. It's like actually putting it outside. So when you see sine squared theta equals 0.5, this means sine theta squared equals 0.5. Do we do these? Yes? No? Maybe? Okay? It's hard for me to keep all these. I got so many courses going at one time. I don't know what's where. Okay, so maybe this is new. So when I want to solve for sine theta, not sine theta squared. So I need to take the square root to make that sine theta. Now when you take the square root though, you must take the square root of both sides. Or you must take the square root. You always will put two signs. Okay, and someone today, even in math 30, said, so does that mean it's January plus or minus 1? Or June plus or minus 1? And I said, no, that means June 1st, right? Look at the date. When you take the square root of 1, it's 1. But if I had x squared equals 1, how do I solve that? Oh, I take the square root of both sides. X can equal plus or minus 1. So when you take the square root of both sides, it can be plus or minus 1, and I can prove it, because look, 1 squared equals 1, and negative 1 squared equals 1. Okay? But if it's already in the question, like I have it in the date there, June square root 1, that means June 1st, not plus or minus. Okay? So I have to look when sine is plus or minus root 0.5. So when is sine plus or minus? All of them. Okay? Because sine is positive in the all and s, and it's negative in the c and the t, right? So let's find out its angle. Second function sine, 0.5. Absolute value. What do you get? Hopefully you don't get 30. Absolute value. What did I say? Oh, root 5. Sorry. Absolute value root 5. 0.5. 45 degrees. It's been a long day for me. Trust me. I tell you, but you couldn't have the stomach for it. Okay, so 45. That is a reference. There's a 45 there, a 45 there, a 45 there, and a 45 there. All to the x-axis, remember? Okay, so what is the first angle that will give us? We're going to 45. The second is 180 minus 45, right? 135. The next one is 180 plus 45, 225. And 360 minus 45, 315 degrees. Okay? So this is just taking the stuff you know, just taking it one more level for sine squared. Again, you may not have that on this year's test, but next year you should remember going through this one. Oh, how many more do I want to do? Okay, we're doing a cotan one. Angle measures degrees from reciprocal trig functions. Okay, again, just another thing we've learned this year, besides radians, is cotan, secant, and cosecant, right? So you got to always remember who the buddy is, and that will basically make things go pretty smooth if you remember its buddy. Remember, one co per pair. So there are no calculator keys for cosecant, secant, and cotan, so we must rewrite them. So if you get cotan equals root 3, that is the same thing as tan equals 1 over root 3. Okay, so that already gave away our first step. So I cannot go and figure out when cotan equals root 3, because if you look all over your calculator, there's no button. So you're going to do this one step first, 1 over root 3. So, and then now you're back to doing them the same. First thing I need to do is find out when. It can't be in final answers. Okay? It can be working with it though. So now, where is tan positive? At. See? I'm getting you. I'm finally understanding you. Mary. It's taking me a while. I'm getting it. So now reference. Second tan. 1 over root 3. 30 degrees. So ref equals 30 degrees. Do a 30 there and a 30 there. So your answers would be 30 degrees and 180 plus 30 is 210 degrees. Okay, I don't think we have to do both of these. Let's just do, we'll do A. So secant equals negative 1.2631. Secant's buddy is cos. So this would be cos x equals negative 1 over 1.2631. So remember I said that negative can go anywhere you want. You can put it in the middle or up, doesn't matter. Okay, so next, when is cos negative? Always messes with you a little bit, right? Because you're like, Cass tells me when it's positive. So when is cos negative? 2 and 3. Okay, so go second cos, 1 over 1.2631. And what do you get? Ref angle equals 38 degrees. Okay, so let's draw it in there. You see the first one will be 180 minus 38. So x would equal 142 degrees. And the other will be 180 plus 38, which is 218 degrees. Okay. Now these two are kind of rare cases, so we want to go through them. But when does cos equal 0? Okay, what do we know about 0? Is it positive or negative? Neither or both, I guess, right? Well, find reference. What's reference? Let's try that first. What's reference angle? 90 degrees. So remember, that's always from the x-axis. So we would get 90 and 270. And if you look on your unit circle, cos is, right? So the theta equals 90 degrees and 270 degrees. Okay, so this one messes with people because it says cosecant theta equals undefined. Like, where do you even start with that thing? Undefined is, that's an undefined slope. No. What makes something undefined? When zero's in the bottom. That's what this means, okay? So now you know. Undefined will mean divided by 0. And that is actually why a straight up and down is undefined, because it's rise over run and has a 0 run, right? So cosecant is 1 over 0. Who's cosecant's buddy? So sine equals 0. And when does sine equal 0? Zero, 180, and look at the domain, 360. Okay. So now that was kind of grade 11 review, plus just a couple rare occurrences. Now we're going to do these in radians. And like I said, again, if you do an honest attempt at going through your homework and doing a study sheet, rewriting your quizzes, this stuff will be easy next year. Okay? So now's a good time to put it in, because it's not worth marks. And now, again, some students are going, not worth marks, then I'm not going to do it. Next year, that means you'll be doing it when it is worth marks, and you may not do well. Okay? It's kind of like if I don't take calculus in high school, I'll be doing it in university where it's worth marks. Now you may sit there and go, but in high school it's worth marks. But it's one of your options. And do you have to use all of your options when you're putting in your transcript? No. So if you got 50, like say you tried hard, you were there every day, whatever, and you got 52 in Math 31. Now you're going, that's not very good, but you don't count it as one of your options, therefore it wasn't worth any marks. Then when you have to take calculus next year in university, right, you're not going to get 52. Okay? You're going to do much, much better when it's worth marks. So similar scenario here, it's not worth marks this time. This is the time you really want to put the work in or try, because even if you fail, because some students don't put in the work, because if they fail, it's like pretty disheartening, right? Kind of takes the air out of your sails. But if it's not worth marks, that's okay. But next year it really hurts, because it's for your diploma. So let's make all our mistakes. Let's go through all of the frustration this year when it's not worth marks. Now, nothing is changing. Okay? You're going to determine the quadrants by looking at the sign. You will determine the reference angle. Okay? Now it's always going to be between 0 and pi over 2. It was 0 and 90 before. Pi over 2 means 90. You know, have that unit circle out. Right? This is pi over 2. Your reference will have to be in there, right? And then we will still determine the reference angle by using second sine, second cos, second tan of the absolute value. And then we will determine our quadrants. But instead, for quadrant 1, rotation equals reference. For quadrant 2, we'll go rotation equals pi minus reference angle. So it's pi now. These are going to be pi plus reference angle and 2 pi minus reference angle for quadrant 4. So nothing is changing, but we're going to be in radian mode. Now, it doesn't scream, put your calculator in radian mode, but it does in its own little language, the domain. Okay, so the domain here says be in radian mode. Okay, so it says when is cos negative? So I go cast. When is cos negative? Okay, now find me a, so you're going to go second cos 0.5, and you're in radian mode, and you will get 1.047. Now, remember what a radian is. It's a piece of pizza, right? So, or a piece of pie, whatever. I like using pizza actually because then you get pie mixed up with pie, and I'm like, piece of pie, you're like, pie? No. Pie. Okay, so it's pizza, right? There's basically 6 pieces in a pizza, okay? So that's just one of them, so you can kind of get a visual. So in these quadrants, we're going to be about here and here, okay? Did I just wing it? Well, because there's 3 in A, right? So 1, 2, 3. There's 3.5. So I just kind of... Okay. So the first one will be pi minus 1.047, and the other will be pi plus 1.047. Okay, so you will get theta to equal 2.09 and 4.19. So this here is 1, 2 radians. Do you see how it's 2 radians coming around? And then it's like 3, 4 radians. Okay, remember radian's about 59 degrees. Or actually, yes, 59.3 or whatever. Okay, so 1, 2 to get here, 3, 4 radians, right? So just think how many 60s basically to get there. There's 4 60s to get to the end one, and 2 60s to get to the other one. Okay, now when does cotan theta equal negative 5 over 4? Okay, so the first thing we have to do is ask, when is it negative? Two and 4? But we're not going to play in 4. Why? Because the domain they gave me, they said, no, you can only be in the top. Okay? So, the quadrant 1 is gone because cotan isn't positive there. And the second thing, it can't be in quadrant 4 because they said I'm not allowed to play in the lower 2 quadrants. So this, no. Okay? So I do not have a cotan button, but I would have a tan theta equals negative 4 over 5. Okay? So you're going to go second tan 4 over 5. Make sure you are putting in your absolute value, not the negative, because that messes with everything. 0.675. So it's not quite a whole piece of pizza. Okay, it's 0.6 of a piece of pizza. So, right, that would be like here, I would say 0.675 radians. Again, it's really hard thinking about radians, right? Those degrees, they were so nice, right? You finally we're getting along with them. You could get a visual, right? It's getting the new visual. That's the tough thing. And it's only done well when you actually get rid of degrees thinking. Okay, so this would be pi minus 0.675, which is 2.47 radians. So we're not quite 3.14, we're 2.47. Well, because you use degrees as a vehicle to really get them to understand trig and quadrants and all that, then you get to the other stuff. Okay. Now, determining the exact multiple of pi radians. Now, this is a very conflicting one for me because all of this can be ignored if you know your unit circle. Okay, do you have your unit circle handy? Tell me what values of theta give sine as 1/2? Okay, look on your unit circle. What are they? What's the first one? Pi over 6. What's the second one? 5 pi over 6. So if you know your unit circle, and any student that I ever have that goes diploma prep goes like, why do they go through all of this? Why don't they just use the unit circle? Because unit circle isn't universal. Okay, not every teacher uses it. The old school way is to do it just the way we did it on the last page. Find when sine is positive. Okay, well sine is positive here and here, right? Find the reference angle. Now the reference angle, it doesn't give it to you nice in your calculator, but you can see the reference angle is pi over 6, right? So what would be the reference angle? What would be the answers? Pi over 6 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pi over 6. So it's actually really, if it's on the unit circle, it's so much easier to pick it. And you're thinking, well, how do I know it's on the unit circle? Because you'll know your unit circle. Okay, you'll know all those things on the outside. And you know them already because I teach the unit circle in grade 11. Okay, so even some of these, like 1/2 is on the outside of your unit circle. You should know that number. You should know your root 3 over 2, right? Your root 2 over 2, your root 2 over 2s. Okay, and then your, remember all your tans. What were all your tans? Do you remember them? Coming up the side? What was the first one? Come on, what are they? Coming up. No, that's for sine and cos. First one was the 45 you should get. Root 2 over 2 divided by root 2 over 2. That was 1. So it was root 3 over 3, 1, and root 3. Do you remember those? Okay, you'll need to know those, right, for grade 11 too. Now, secant equals negative root 2. Now, do you remember negative root 2 being on your unit circle? Some of you guys don't even remember your unit circle. Is negative root 2 in your unit circle? Look at it. You got one right there. Do you see it? Where? There's no root 2. This number is on your unit circle? Where? It's not. Okay? But either is secant. Okay? Only sine, cos, and tan are on your unit circle. But who's secant's buddy? Okay, so this is over 1. So cos theta would be 1 over negative root 2. Now, are you allowed a radical in the bottom? So you're going to multiply by root 2 over 2. So when does cos theta equal negative root 2 over 2? Recognize that? So where does it happen? Sam? 3 pi over 4 and what's the other one? 5 pi over 4. And a lot of them on the diploma and on your unit exams, they'll be on the unit circle. Cosecant is undefined. Okay? So this is what you should be thinking right now. That's synonymous with undefined, 1 over 0. Cosecant's buddy is sine theta equals 0. Where does sine theta equal 0? What radians? It's here and here, right? 0 pi and 2 pi. Okay, look right on your unit circle. Look at your y's, right? Remember on your unit circle? Right? All of these, it's x comma y. X comma y, x comma y. Well, this is always your cos answers. The y's are always your sine answers. And y divided by x are your tan answers, which is root 3 over 3, 1, root 3. 0, undefined. So you should get those on that unit circle again, right? So everybody should know this quadrant really well. Okay, so this is pi over 6. This is 2 pi over 6. Okay, this is 3 pi over 6. And this one is pi over 4. Okay, so this is root 3 over 2, comma 1 half. This is 1, 0. This is root 2 over 2, root 2 over 2. This is 1 half, root 3 over 2. This is 0, 1. Okay, my tans are 0, root 3 over 3, 1, root 3, and undefined. Yeah, pi over 3. And that's what will be on your unit circle. But I'm going to teach you how to count by 6s always and count by 4s always. And you'll reduce your fractions after. Okay, so it's a trick that I use everyone. I'm going to teach you that tomorrow. How to know, not how to memorize, but how to actually know your unit circle. And remember, this is cosine tan, cosine tan, cosine tan, cosine tan. Okay, so I picked this unit purposely for the AP because it's killing two birds with one stone. We're still preparing for the grade 11 unit, the final exam, and you're getting all this preparation for the 30 class. Okay, so we're doing 1 to 5 ACE ... and 6 to 11.